More teams, uniforms, logos, and floors. We announced the title of the game, added dunks, some UI, and oh yeah, a Steam store page. There's been so much going on these past few weeks since my last devlog. We've got lots of progress to talk about, so let's get started. Hey everybody, it's Joe at Tire Swing Games again, and welcome to devlog number 2 of my 2D pixel art basketball game in progress. I guess the first really big thing is I've settled on a title. Full Court Heroes. I mean, I'd guess I'd still call it a working title, but I really like it. The response to the name has been overwhelmingly positive. So it's Full Court Heroes for now, and it will probably stay that way. One more very big news item is that I have launched a store page for Full Court Heroes on Steam. I signed all the agreements, paid the Steam Direct fee, created all of the required graphical assets, created a trailer, jumped through all the required hoops, and submitted a store page on Steam. And almost 5 days later, the store page was approved, and I published the page on Steam. And that means that you can now wishlist Full Court Heroes on Steam. A link is in the description. And wishlists do make a real difference for the game's visibility when I launch it, so it really would help me out a lot if you could go and wishlist a game on Steam. I've talked before about how creating and releasing a real proper game is a lifelong dream, and I can tell you it feels almost surreal to see my game on the Steam store. As for the experience of creating a Steam store page, it was actually a pretty painless process. I hope to use an early Steam store presence to experiment and learn what works well on Steam and what doesn't, and hopefully by the time I launch the game, I will have met a good number of you that are interested in playing the game. Now, let's talk about the changes in the game itself, because there are so many changes in the last few weeks. I had vacation time between Christmas and New Year's, and our family basically stayed at home this year, so I was able to spend a decent amount of time working on the game, and I think it shows in what I was able to accomplish. I refactored the way courts are defined in the game to allow for greater ability to customize colors and graphics. The courts are stored in the JSON format, which is a format that is easy for people to use when creating mods. Of course, I will have in-game editors for most of the stuff as well. I used to just have a property for the center court logo, and I moved that out into a different property that can hold a list of images or graphics. And this will allow greater flexibility in adding smaller logos on either side of the key, for instance, or more in-court graphics or things like that. I also divided up the lines painted on the court and now allow you to specify the color of each different section or area of lines. Same with the paint. There's now an inner section of the paint and an outer section of the paint that can each be different colors or even a different graphic if you want. Teams work the same way. I added the ability for each team to have multiple uniforms. Right now, every team has an association uniform, which is typically traditional home whites, an icon uniform, which is the traditional road colors, a statement variation, and a city variation. Adding additional uniform types is supported just by adding them here in the JSON file for the team for modders, and there will be support for adding additional uniforms in the in-game editor as well. I began prototyping some of the graphical user interfaces in the game. We have a title screen, as it stands right now, with the main menu of options. It's definitely inspired by a couple of my favorite pixel art sports games. The UI is being built from the start to support localization. I've decided that I will release the game in multiple languages. Right now, I plan to release it in English, Spanish, French, German, Portuguese, and Italian. I'm also hoping to add Russian and Chinese, and of course I'd love to support as many languages as I can. It will just come down to my budget and the availability of translation services that I can afford. Right now, I can show you the main menu in Spanish and English, but I'm using Godot's built-in translation service to make sure that every UI label and prompt uses localization files to support multiple languages. I also have the beginnings of UI working to set up an exhibition game. Right now it's just single player, but the game will support local and online multiplayer as well. You can see here some of the fictitious teams that I've created so far and their logos. They are the Boston Clovers, the Chicago Boars, the Cleveland Musketeers, the Golden Gate Gladiators, the Los Angeles Legends, the Milwaukee Ducks, the Minnesota Werewolves, the Oklahoma City Lightning, and the South Beach Scorchers. More teams are coming and will be added to the game in pretty short order. Each of these teams also have a custom floor for their home court. In terms of gameplay, I have greatly improved player collisions. In my last devlog, it was still possible for players to just stack on top of each other with multiple players inhabiting the same space. Now they collide with each other and feel a bit more like actual three-dimensional people than before. Also, in terms of look and feel, you can see that I have added a scoreboard graphic that keeps track of the score and the game clock and a shot clock as well. Although right now I don't have a shot clock violation implemented, but at least it displays the shot clock. And I will change the game to enforce the shot clock very soon, but for now it doesn't. Other gameplay enhancements include a bit more basketball sense, like this drive-in kick. When the ball handler drives into the paint, the wing catches his defender watching the ball, scoots to the corner, and I then kick the ball outside for an easy catch and shoot three. I still have work to do on the defensive side for this, but I gotta say, this is a lot of fun to pull off. It just is really satisfying to see ball movement lead to open shots in ways that actually feel like real basketball. I also added just a bit of movement to the rim when you brick a shot. It's a subtle touch that I think adds a lot to making the game feel a bit better. But speaking of rattling the rim, here's my favorite update of the past 2 weeks. The ability to dunk. If you can get to the rim, you can hold the dunk button and go up for a dunk, and after you dunk, you can continue holding that button and hang on to the rim. The basket bounces when you do that, and it's just so fun to watch. I haven't created a player with stats that can pull off a free throw line dunk a la Julius Erving, Jordan, Pippen, Kemp, and others, but I will. For now, though, I love how this looks flying through the air toward the basket and then just swinging on the rim afterwards. I know I'm biased, but it just makes me smile, and I want to dunk it again. Well, that's about all I have for this update. If you're still watching, thank you very much. If you haven't already, please subscribe, wishlist Full Court Heroes on Steam, like the video, and tell me in the comments what you'd like to see more of, or just any reactions and feedback you have to anything about the game or this video. I look forward to reading your comments. Thanks again for watching, and have a great day. See you next time.